Please welcome Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez.
Well, hello, Waukesha County. It is such an honor and privilege to help welcome Vice President Harris to the great state of Wisconsin to kick off the Fight for Reproductive Freedoms tour. As some of you know, I live in Waukesha County, so I am just thrilled that she is in our backyard. Today, as we recognize the 51st anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark decision in Roe versus Wade, I want to thank Vice President Harris for her steadfast support on issues of reproductive freedom and share just how much of an honor it is to be part of this important effort. As a public health professional and a nurse, I know that reproductive health care is health care, and that abortion is health care, period. There are individuals in power today, including some right here in Wisconsin, who are hell-bent on inserting their beliefs into places where they do not belong and infringing upon our family members, our friends, our neighbors' right to make their own reproductive health care decisions. And I've seen their agenda firsthand. I was on the Health Committee when I served in the Wisconsin State Assembly, where they took up all of these anti-abortion bills. And when these men testified, and they were all men, I asked simple, clinical, medical questions. And what did that chair of the committee do? He gavelled me so I should stop asking questions. And he called me a nasty woman. So, for all you nasty women out there, I will not shut up, I will not be quiet, and we're going to continue to fight like hell to maintain reproductive freedom here in Wisconsin. And they're doing it again. This afternoon, in that same health committee, they are proposing another abortion ban here in Wisconsin. They aren't listening to us. They aren't listening to what Wisconsinites want. Governor Evers and I believe that every single Wisconsinite should have the freedom to make their own reproductive health care decisions that are right for them without the interference of politicians who know nothing about their faith, their family, or their circumstances. And that's why we have promised to fight these attacks on reproductive freedom in every way and which way that we have power to have. We reflect on Roe and we celebrate access to abortion care that has recently been restored in Wisconsin. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. But we must recognize that our fight is far from over. This is a pivotal moment for Wisconsin women, and we cannot and we will not look back. President Biden, Vice President Harris, Senator Baldwin, Governor Evers, and myself are going to continue to fight to protect our most basic freedoms here in Wisconsin and across the country. I invite you to fight with me. Thank you.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary for Health, Admiral Rachel Levine.
Good afternoon. It is so great to be back here in Wisconsin. Yes. I was here exactly 1 year ago on the last anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision, which recognized women's constitutional right to make their own health care decisions without political interference. Since Roe was overturned, we have seen the chaos and the confusion that women and their families have had to deal with related to their own health care choices in this state of Wisconsin. I want you to know that the Department of Health and Human Services is doing everything in its power to protect access to reproductive health care. That includes contraception, which has become even more critical in the wake of the Dobbs decision. In my current role as the Assistant Secretary for Health at HHS, I oversee the critical work of the Title X Family Planning Program, which provides a wide range of family planning and related preventative services. I'm a pediatrician and an adolescent medicine specialist by training, and before I entered public service and joined the Biden-Harris administration, I spent years providing care in a Title X clinic in Pennsylvania. I have seen firsthand how important Title X clinics are to so many people, and how it provides access to quality health care, including contraception that they might not get anywhere else. In my current role, I have traveled across the country and heard from people in communities like Chicago, St. Paul, Camden, right here in Wisconsin as well, about how important programs like Title X are to them and their families. Many Title X patients can't afford to get or afford care anywhere else. They can't get or afford care anywhere else. This program saves lives. It improves health, and it makes our communities safer and healthier. People need care no matter where they live. Denying people access to health care doesn't reduce their need for health care. Everyone here knows that putting restrictions on women's ability to make their own health care decisions goes against our most basic principles. It is regressive. It is deeply unfair to women, to their families, and to the providers who care for them. We can do better. We must do better. And with your help, we will do better. We will build the thriving society that we all need and we all deserve. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please welcome U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs Deputy Secretary Tanya Bratcher.
Good afternoon. Do we have any veterans here? Huh? Very good. It is great to be here in Wisconsin. I am told this is warm. It is an honor to be here with Vice President Harris and others united in our determination to ensure high-quality reproductive health care. I've been privileged to work with our Vice President and the White House Task Force on reproductive health care access for almost 2 years. First as VA's Chief of Staff and now as Deputy Secretary. And I want you to know that VA is making critical progress in reproductive health care for veterans. Many people don't realize that women veterans are the fastest growing cohort of veterans at the VA. The number of women serving VA services has more than tripled since 2001, or that half of the women VA serves are childbearing age, or that pregnancies in women veterans using VA care have increased by more than 80% since 2014, from about 7,000 pregnancies in 2014 to over 12,500 in 2022. In 2022, in response to the Dobbs decision and its impact to access to care for women veterans, VA began providing abortion counseling and care in certain cases. This is a patient safety decision, as abortion restrictions present a serious threat to the health and lives of those we serve. But that's not all. In June 2023, VA expanded breast cancer screenings and mammograms for veterans with potential toxic exposures. In October 2023, VA dramatically expanded one-on-one maternity care coordination for women veterans from 8 weeks to now 12 months postpartum. VA reproductive health services includes all of this, as some fertility services, contraceptives, including emergency contraceptives, and menopause care. We do this because we know that access to full complement of medically necessary reproductive health care is a critical component of veteran health care. Our commitment to women veterans and to all veterans has never been stronger, and that includes the critically important arena of reproductive health care. Vice President Harris, it is so an honor to be here with her today, and I thank her for the honor for allowing me to join you today to see her leadership in action. God bless all of you, our troops, our veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. May we always give them the very best. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
Well, let us welcome the Vice President. Listen, I am so grateful to the Vice President for coming to the Milky Way area to make sure that she encourages all of us to continue to fight. The fight is not over, y'all. Even though we've had a stay from the onerous 1849 law, they're still at us, still at controlling our wombs. Let me just tell you this. Let me give you my credentials. Let me give you my credentials here. I'm a mother of a daughter and 2 sons. I'm the grandmother of 3 women, and I'm the great-grandmother of 3 great-granddaughters. I got some skin in the game, y'all. I got some skin in the game. You know, I have given birth, and I've also taken advantage of abortion care before Roe v. Wade. But let me tell you, sisters, I had to hustle and scuffle and rake and scrape up enough money from the middle class and upper middle class white women network that I had the opportunity to be familiar with. That's not true for everybody in every community. To have that connection and to have to fly all the way to New York to get great abortion care. We don't want to see that time come again. That is a burden. And I had already had a baby and understood. Sorry about this, Hobby Lobby. But motherhood is not a hobby. You need to be committed. You need to be prepared. Let me tell you, I was an abortion counselor. I have held the hands of women as they have been in the abortion room for their services, and I have been there and held the hands of women as they have given birth. When I was 16 years old, I was in a dormitory at UWM, and girls started hollering, and I had to go in there and help deliver a baby at age 16. So let me tell you, I've seen the full range of reproductive health for women, and I have counseled women who wanted to give birth, but they had malicious high blood pressure and malicious diabetes, and they were over 40, and the doctors have said to them, you know, this would be very dangerous and precarious for you. But the very first time that I had any information about abortion was when I was 12 years old. That's 60 years ago, in case y'all are wondering how old I am. And I heard my mother on the telephone talking to one of the parishioners at our church who was pregnant with her 11th or 12th child. And the doctors had offered her a therapeutic abortion because her cardiac condition was so feeble that they said, surely you will not make it through this pregnancy. And I heard a lot of back and forth about the Lord's will. And as I lay there and watched this beautiful woman stretched out in her casket, I wondered, was this the Lord's will? For her to orphan a dozen kids? Let me tell you this. When these folks start talking about exceptions and all of that, every woman is exceptional. Every woman has a story. And every woman has a life. And every woman should have a choice. Let me just say something about Kamala Harris before I yield the podium. They usually only give you 1 minute, but guess what? Ain't no gavel here today. Let me tell you something about her. I knew her before she was the VP. I knew her when she was a United States Senator. And let me tell you something. She was the author of our bill called the Momnibus. And it's a comprehensive bill that helped women who were at risk of losing their lives, of dying in childbirth. Because, United States is one of the worst places in the world to be pregnant. You know, let's talk about that a little bit. So our vice president is someone who is there for women at every stage of her life and every piece of her reproductive. This is about bodily autonomy, y'all. It's about freedom of your body, no matter what stage you're in. And I am so pleased that Mamala, as her stepkids call her, is here with us today. But it's not my job to introduce her. It is my job to remind y'all that when she comes out, honey, make sure she knows that her weary steps are worth it being here to talk to us. She's done 50 or more of these engagements in 16 states as she goes around to carry the message that women are going to show up and we're going to show out. So thank you all for coming. And I'm out.
everything, you know it. King already, you know it. Shine already, it's time already. Shine already, it's time already. Shine already, it's time already. Shine already, it's time already.
Shine already, it's time already. The line already, it's time already. Shine already, it's time already. The line already, it's time already. Try to stop it, me say no, no, no. Royalty say don't you, no, no, no. Try to stop it, me say go, 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 go. Bubble up and watch it go, 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 go.
Diamonds on my fist, fighting demons, y'all. Come and rest your head, take your crown off. Woke up in the phone, need to take it slow. He said I'm moving too fast, need to take it slow. Take it slow. Take it slow. Trying to take my baby home. Take it slow.
Remember who you are. Real king always we know. Give up be brave. I show your people my love. It's time already, I say it's time already. It's line already, I say it's line already. Only you got the remedy, I say you got the remedy. Shine your body, shine your body. Be your own king, make nobody come rule your world. Yo, 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 yo. Be your own king, make nobody come rule your world. Be your own king, make nobody come rule your world. Yo, 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 yo. Be your own king, make nobody come rule your world. Long live the king, you a king, you know it. Stop everything, everything, you know it. Show them the way, you know it, you know it, you know it.
We hug and yes, we make love and always just say goodnight. And we cuddle, sure I do love it, but I need your lips all night. Can you kiss me more? We're so young, boy, we ain't got nothing to lose. It's just principle. Baby, hold me, 'cause I like the way you move.
Please welcome Dr. Amy Domeyer-Klinsky.
Fellow Wisconsinites, I trained to become an OBGYN long after Roe was decided. I recall when I was a resident receiving teaching from one of our faculty on abortion care. He described what felt to me like a long ago era during which abortion was illegal and patients risked their health and lives when attempting to end their pregnancies. I recall his anecdotes feeling like a history lesson rather than advice to prepare me for my future career. Everything changed following the Dobbs decision when an archaic 1849 law that criminalized abortion would suddenly cast doubt on our ability to provide standard reproductive care to our patients. Physicians from across the state, not only OBGYNs, but specialists in internal medicine, family medicine, and emergency medicine, came together with questions, most resounding of which was how sick is sick enough? Many of us feared watching our pregnant patients suffer as complications threatened their health and lives. We worked the best we could within our institutions and professional societies to come up with a shared understanding of how and when we could still provide abortion care to our patients, all while grieving our inability to provide the full standard of care or protect ourselves against the threat of a felony charge. I recall a moment on labor and delivery with a trainee who said, "We aren't really going to know where the line is until one of us goes to jail." This comment was a punch to the gut. Our profession was thrown into chaos while all of us were worried about how our patients could get the health care they needed. Through the hard work of numerous individuals, some abortion care services have returned to our state, and I want to take a moment to celebrate this progress. Yet so many Wisconsinites still lack access, and a shifting legal landscape creates confusion for physicians and patients, including new abortion restrictions which are today being heard in our state legislature. Obstetric patients in our rural areas face maternity care deserts where labor and delivery units are closing, and according to a research brief from the UW Collaborative for Reproductive Equity, about 1 in 10 pregnancy-capable Wisconsinites reported delays or trouble in getting birth control. These challenges could seem insurmountable in any other state, but we are Badgers. And in Wisconsin, we have the people, the passion, and the expertise to make progress. It is my honor to introduce a longtime champion in the fight for reproductive rights, someone who has fought for women across America as a district attorney, attorney general, senator, and now the first woman vice president of the United States of America. Please, let's get a big Wisconsin welcome and join me in welcoming our Vice President, Kamala Harris.
It's good to be back in Wisconsin. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Can we please give it up for Dr. Domeyer-Klensky for just all she has done and her incredible courage. I had the joy of spending some time with her backstage. You really are fantastic. And of course, it is good to be with my dear friend Tammy Baldwin. She was here earlier today, but she had to go back to Washington for some important votes. And on the subject of Tammy Baldwin, I want to just mention Tammy because she had to go back to Washington for some important votes. She was here earlier. But I will say, Wisconsin, that you have in her an extraordinary leader. I had the privilege of spending time with her when I was in the Senate. Tammy is always fighting for the people of Wisconsin. And so can we please applaud her for what she does? Thank you. And moving on, I want to say that, when we look at where we are as a country, we do need those elected leaders among the leaders who are here. For example, Congresswoman Gwen Moore is here, another member of Congress. And all of the state and local leaders who are here, I want to thank you all for the work that you do to uphold one of our nation's highest ideals, the ideal of freedom. Freedom, I believe, is fundamental to the promise of America. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom of assembly, the freedom to vote. In America, freedom is not to be given. It is not to be bestowed. It is ours by right. By right. And that includes the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, not the government telling you what to do. 51 years ago today, in the case of Roe v. Wade, the United States Supreme Court recognized the fundamental constitutional right to reproductive freedom. And for nearly half a century,
Americans relied on the freedoms protected by Roe. However, 19 months ago, the highest court in our land, the Court of Thurgood and RBG, took a constitutional right from the people of America, from the women of America. And now, on the 51st anniversary of Roe, we speak of it in the past tense. In the last 19 months, in states across our nation, extremists have proposed and passed laws that criminalize doctors and punish women. Laws that threaten doctors and nurses with prison time, even for life, simply for providing health care. Laws that in some states make no exception even for rape and incest. Now, many of you know I started my career as a prosecutor, specializing in crimes against women and children. What you may not know is one of the reasons why. So when I was in high school, I learned that one of my best friends was being molested by her stepfather. And so I said to her, "You got to come stay with us." I called my mother, and my mother said, "Of course she should." And she did. So the idea that someone who survives a crime that is violence to their body, a violation to their body, and then would not have the authority to decide what happens to their body next, that's immoral. It's immoral. And let us all agree, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body. If she chooses, she will consult her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government telling her what to do. This is, in fact, a healthcare crisis. And there is nothing about this that is hypothetical. Today in America, 1 in 3 women of reproductive age live in a state with an abortion ban. 1 in 3. And let us understand what that really means for people across our nation. Let us understand the horrific reality that women are facing every single day since Roe was overturned. I have met women who have had miscarriages in toilets because they were refused care. I met a woman who went to the emergency room during a miscarriage and was turned away because the doctors were afraid they'd be thrown in jail for giving care. And it was only when she developed sepsis that they gave her the care she needed. We know that the majority of women who have abortions are mothers. If they live in a state with an abortion ban and they need to travel to receive care, God help her if she does not have paid leave or affordable child care. God help them if they don't have the savings to buy a bus, a train, or a plane ticket, or to book a hotel room. And while these extremists say they are motivated by the health and well-being of women and children, in reality, they ignore the crisis of maternal mortality. The top 10 states with the highest rates of maternal mortality all have abortion bans. The hypocrisy abounds. And let us be clear about what they're up to. These extremists want to roll back the clock to a time before women were treated as full citizens. Wisconsin to the 1800s. Just look at what happened here in this beautiful state of Wisconsin. After Roe was dismantled, extremists evoked a law from 1849 to stop abortion in this state. 1849, before women could vote, before women could hold elected office, before many women could even own property, in a state whose motto is forward. These extremists are trying to take us backward. Well, we're not having that. We're not having that. And just look at what the fallout has been. The reproductive care clinics across the state that had to close. The women that hospitals had to turn away. Women like Megan. So Megan learned she was pregnant early last year. A few months later, she and her husband, John, went to their doctor for a routine ultrasound. And it revealed devastating news for them. The fetus had a severe genetic disorder, and Megan's pregnancy threatened her life. But because of that 1849 law, Megan's doctor could not provide a life-saving abortion unless he found two other physicians to sign off. He called doctor after doctor here in Wisconsin, but none were willing to risk going to prison. Ultimately, Megan had to go to Minnesota to receive care. She had to leave the state where she calls home to save her life. Thankfully, late last year, a judge declared that this 1849 law did not apply to abortion, and some clinics in Wisconsin have since reopened. But that does not undo or heal the incredible pain that women like Megan have endured. Megan and her husband, John, are here with us today, and in front of all the friends, let us applaud them for their courage. And I thank them for the time that I had with them today. Can we please applaud them? And I mention them because I think it's very important to understand the courage it takes to share those kinds of stories. And the reality of what is happening in real time across our country is that for every story we hear, there are so many that we do not hear about. Today, an untold number of women are silently suffering. Women who are being subjected to profound judgment. Women who are being made to feel as though they did something wrong, as though they should be embarrassed, being made to feel as though they are alone. And to those women I say, we see you, and we are listening, and we see your incredible strength, and we are here with you. And so as we face this crisis, As we are clear-eyed about the harm, let us also understand who is responsible. Shall we? The former president handpicked 3 Supreme Court justices because he intended for them to overturn Roe. He intended for them to take your freedoms. And it is a decision he brags about.
Yes, he does.
A couple weeks ago, he said that for years, quote, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, but he said, quote, I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
And the women should be prosecuted.
Proud? Proud? Proud that women across our nation are suffering? Proud that women have been robbed of a fundamental freedom? Proud that doctors could be thrown in prison for caring for their patients, that young women today have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers? How dare he? And the extremists are not done. This afternoon, in the Wisconsin Legislature, extremists will hold a hearing on a new bill that would ban abortion in this state with no exception for rape and incest. And in the United States Congress, extremists are trying to pass a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every single state. But what they need to know is that if Congress passes a national abortion ban, President Joe Biden will veto it. Yes, he will. Because here's the deal about all of us. We trust women. We trust women to make decisions about their own bodies. We trust women to know what is in their own best interest. And women trust us to fight, to protect their most fundamental freedoms. And it is going to take all of us. It is going to take all of us. Joe Biden and I are fighting in court to protect women's access to medication and emergency care. We strengthened the patient privacy protections so that medical records stay between a woman and her doctor. And we are protecting the right of women to travel for abortion care. But the bottom line is, to truly protect reproductive freedoms, we must restore the protections of Roe. Because you see, what the United States Supreme Court took, Congress can put back in place. So we need a majority of leaders in Congress who simply agree, here's the thing, simply agree that the government should not be making those personal decisions for folks. And when Congress passes a law that puts back the protections of Roe, Joe Biden will sign it. So I'll close with this. It's going to take all of us to get us to that place. Everybody here. And momentum is on our side. We are winning. Since Roe was overturned, every time reproductive freedom has been on the ballot, The people of America have voted for freedom. From Kansas to California to Kentucky, in Michigan, Montana, Vermont, and Ohio, the people of America have voted for freedom. And not by a little, by overwhelming margins. Proving also this is not a partisan issue. Tens of millions of Americans in red states and blue, including here in Wisconsin, marched to the polls in defense of fundamental freedoms. So I say, the voice of the people has been heard, and it will be heard. And then I finally ask, today, Wisconsin, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we trust